Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. On the day of my brother's wedding, everybody was getting ready to go to the ceremony. I was his best man and I had invited my girlfriend as my plus one. We had been dating for 3 years now and I was planning to pop the question soon. So I had spoken to my brother about it and he was super excited for me. He was marrying his childhood friend and even I was super close to her. We all grew up together. Everybody was in a rush to get to the ceremony hall. Nobody wanted to be late. I planned to go ahead and make sure everything was in place. I was there about 3 hours earlier helping with the arrangements. I had texted my girlfriend saying that I had already gone ahead and that she should meet me there. Some time passed and I didn't receive a confirmation from her. Today was important, and I had gotten her confirmation early on, saying that she would be here with her family. I was a bit stressed out since she wasn't replying. I called her too, but got no answer. I left her a text telling her to get back to me ASAP. Yes, today was my brother's wedding, but that was not the only thing happening today. My brother had spoken to his fiancé about me wanting to propose, and they decided that their wedding reception would be perfect for it. I had given my girlfriend a couple of hints by asking her questions about the ring, taking her to get her nails done, and so on. It was very subtle, but I kept her on her toes. My brother's fiancé suggested proposing to her during the bouquet ceremony. We planned it together, and she said that instead of throwing the bouquet, she would hand it to her, and then I could get down on one knee and ask her the question. They both were very excited and wanted to share their special day with us. I had told them that I didn't want to take away their attention, but they weren't that uptight about it. Back to the hall. An hour had passed since I first texted her, and I was confused. Did something happen? Why was she not answering me? Did I do something to anger her? Even though I was stressed out, I had to focus on the arrangements here. Once I made sure everything was good and on track, I checked the music and called up the marriage officiant. She said that she was on her way and would be here in an hour. I called up my family and informed them that everything was on track and asked them if I should come back as there was still about 2 hours left. The hotel we were staying at was a 20-minute ride away. They asked me to stay in the hall just in case. I had nothing to do now, so I tried contacting my girlfriend again, but to no avail. Was she ghosting me? We were fine when we spoke yesterday, so I don't know why she was ignoring me now. The next hour and a half were just stressful. Guests had started coming in. My brother was supposed to be here right about now. A few minutes passed, and it was getting closer to the time of the ceremony. My brother wasn't here yet. I was getting nervous. I tried calling my family, but nobody was answering. Soon, there were only 15 minutes left for the ceremony, and my family weren't there. I didn't know where they were, and I wasn't able to contact them. The officiant asked me if the bride and groom were on their way, and I didn't know what to say. So I was honest with him, and he told me not to worry, and that weddings were stressful. I took a deep breath to calm myself down. A minute later, I got a call from the bride asking me if my brother was there. I was dumbfounded. I told her no and explained to her that I was trying to contact our family, but to no avail. I could hear the stress in her voice. She asked me if my girlfriend was there, but I told her that I wasn't able to contact her either. The time of the ceremony passed and the hall was almost full. People were waiting for the bride and groom, and if they weren't here soon, we would have to do a bit of damage control. The officiant stood on the stage and made a joke about how both the bride and groom weren't there. People took to it and chuckled. I got a call again, and this time it was from my father, who told me that my brother had already left 45 minutes ago and that he should have reached me by now. He also said that my girlfriend had contacted my brother, and I was shocked as she hadn't responded to me all day. He told me that according to the time, they both should have reached together. I was jittery now. I had no clue what was happening. And then my father came and told me this. The bride called me up and she was in tears. She was as confused as I was and with no news of them. She couldn't take it well either. She wasn't willing to leave the hotel with my brother not here. My family was trying to convince her that he would be here soon too, but she had already started hyperventilating. Nobody could blame her. This was the worst case scenario and any bride's nightmare. An hour had now passed and the guests had started asking questions. We told them that there was trouble with the car and that it would take a little more time. Almost an hour had passed. The wedding planner arranged a few beverages for the guests. Thank God for him. Soon, I got a call from an unknown number, which I answered. It was my girlfriend calling, telling me my brother was fine and that he was with her. At this point, I just had terrible scenarios running through my head. Why was my brother with her? Did he turn around to pick her up or what? She told me to inform my family that we didn't need to panic and that they would be here soon. I tried asking her more questions, but she hung up. I was terrified at this point, but still happy that at least I knew about their whereabouts. I called my father and told him that this was the case, and he said that he would handle it. He was managing this way better than me. Soon my family was here, and the bride's car was going to pull up. I was praying that my brother would reach before them, but he didn't. The bride's car pulled up. I walked up to her, but she didn't want to step outside, so I gave her an awkward hug through the window, trying to calm her down. I could tell she was distraught and was trying to hold on while she waited for my brother to pull up. 15 minutes later, he pulled up, and I swear this was the worst type of suspense we had ever experienced. My girlfriend got out of the car first and walked around and opened the door. We didn't know what to expect. Even my girlfriend's family had reached out before her, so I didn't know what she was doing with my brother. They had parked in front of us so the bride could see too. She poked her head out of the window, holding onto the glass. As my brother stepped out, the number of emotions that went through me was ridiculous. Horror, worry, surprise. I called him an idiot in my head. I don't know how, but there he stood with a cast around his arm and a string wrapped around his other shoulder holding it up. What had this idiot managed to do in between moving from the hotel to the hall? His bride got out and ran to him, crying and hugging him. He winced a bit. His hand hurt. My girlfriend stood awkwardly, trying to move away from them with a sheepish smile. I put two and two together, and somehow she was involved with what happened, and I didn't know how. Our family gathered around and tried asking questions, but he said he would explain later. He was trying his best to comfort his bride. He had made her live her nightmare, and he wasn't going to get out of this for the rest of his life, even if his hand was fractured, which I later came to know. The wedding officiant had come out and managed to calm everyone down. He asked the bride and groom if the wedding was still on, and my brother laughed and said yes, that he wouldn't be here with a fractured arm if it wasn't. His bride playfully hit him on his arm, and he winced again. Everybody chuckled, and the officiant directed us inside. My brother went in and stood on the stage, and someone shouted, "What happened to the hand? We thought you were busy with the makeup." All the guests laughed. It was one of our cousins who had called him out. The rest of the ceremony went smoothly, with little to no drama, except for the bride's whimpers here and there and my brother cradling his arm and his wife. After the wedding ceremony, everybody was directed to the wedding venue, which was a few minutes' walk from the hall. I went ahead and made sure everything was good to go. I was hesitant to go before them because I was still a bit traumatized by my brother's disappearance. I was wondering how my girlfriend had found him. We still had a few minutes before the reception started. My girlfriend had reached. She came up to me, gave me a tight hug, and apologized. She explained that she drove herself and that her phone was in her bag on silent. On a signal, she stopped and tried to call me, but she had network issues. She tried calling others too, but nothing was going through. Somehow, she ended up calling my brother and it connected. He explained the route to her and told her he was leaving too. They would meet halfway and then she could follow him. The area in between was foresty. The location wasn't in the city. Since he left early, he drove himself. On the way, a moose ran across and he swerved. He ended up in a ditch and the impact hurt his hand. A few cars stopped and called the medics. At that time, my girlfriend showed up too, and he asked her not to call the family. He had gotten out of the car by then. Instead of waiting, she drove him to the hospital. Thankfully, it was nothing major. He told the doctor that he needed to get to his wedding, and after a few checkups, they let him go, saying everything was fine and he had to be careful of his hand. That idiot wasn't even willing to go to the hospital, but my girlfriend convinced him. Though they were around 2.5 to 3 hours late, I'm glad my brother is fine. I've received a lot of questions about the proposal. No, I decided not to propose to her at the reception. After all the drama, I just wanted my brother and his newlywed wife to have a good time. Yes, I am still going to propose, but I haven't decided where yet. Your brother is an idiot. I understand that he didn't want to worry everybody, but not informing everyone was even worse. OP's brother is TA, but a nice one, I guess. The poor bride, she had a heart attack. She must have been so scared. My parents divorced when I, 27 male, was 7. My dad and mom both met their spouses within a couple of years of the divorce. I met my dad's wife first. I was introduced to her within 4 months of their relationship, and she made it clear from the get-go. She wanted a mother-son relationship with me. My dad told me that's the gig. You don't have to like it, but when your parent marries someone, they become your parent too. They mentioned when they married 18 months later that calling her mom would be the right thing to do. And she told me repeatedly it hurt her feelings that I didn't want to. And then she insisted that I call her ma'am if I wouldn't call her a mom name. With my mom's husband, it was so different. He started out asking me about video games and art, and he told me he hoped we could be friends and maybe family in the future, but that friends was good too. When my dad and his wife were pushing the whole mom thing, I had asked him what he wanted me to call him. He said there was no way to wear out his name, so I was free to use that, or his childhood nickname that only his favorite people get to use. I used his name for a few more months, but by the time he was living with me and Mom, I was using the nickname. When I was 11, Dad and his wife moved to another town to take care of her parents, so I was every other weekend with them after the move. They wanted me to move with them, but I didn't want to, and I knew my dad's wife disliked my mom afterwards. She used to tell my dad and her friends when I was with them that Mom was selfish for hogging me and preventing me from seeing her as my mom. At the same time, my mom's husband would listen to me vent about Dad and her, but never spoke a word, and sometimes even reminded me that even if I felt like he preferred his wife, he still loved me. My dad and his wife had 3 daughters together. Mom and her husband have 5 kids. I think Dad's wife only having girls deprived her of the son she always wanted, and it made her want me to be her son even more. But today I really don't care for her, and if Dad were dead or they were divorced, she would get no invite to my wedding at all, while my mom's husband is one of my favorite people. My dad's wife has been all up my butt about what she'll be doing at the wedding and how she should be treated the same as my mom. She's just as much my parent, etc. I said she wasn't, and she was not going to be a parent of the groom, that she's Dad's +1, just like Mom's husband is her +1. She said it wasn't fair to compare him and she's my second mom. I told her I would rather give him the title of a parent of the groom than her, and she needed to accept she would never be the mother of the groom. She cursed a whole lot at me and told me I was an ungrateful little brat. AITA? NTA, she's forcing the relationship on you, whereas your mom's boyfriend is trying to actually get to know you. You are not obligated to call her mom. She needs to back off a bit and maybe get to know you so the relationship is more genuine. Your dad is an AH for also trying to force you to accept his wife. I mean, he got with her after 4 months. NTA, while it may have been hurtful to tell your dad's wife that you would rather have your mom's husband act as the parent of the groom than her, you have the right to choose who you want to have that role at your wedding. Your dad's wife has been pushing for a mother-son relationship with you and insisting that she be treated as a parent, despite your lack of interest in having that relationship with her. You have clearly formed a closer relationship with your mom's husband, and it is your decision to choose who you want to have that role at your wedding. Your dad's wife's reaction was inappropriate, and she should respect your wishes. I, 15 female, have colitis, so to sum it up, gaining weight isn't easy for me and never has been. My family know that, but don't believe that's the reason I'm so skinny. They've come to the conclusion I have a raging eating disorder even though they've seen me eat, and complain about me eating stuff they feel hurt my stomach. It honestly still astonishes me they still think this way after the way I ate at Thanksgiving. I legitimately ate a feast that day. Anyways, fast forward to a couple of weeks ago. My family planned an early gift exchange because some of my relatives couldn't be with us on Christmas, and my aunt and I got chosen to buy for each other. So obviously she asked what I wanted, and I did the same. I only really asked for makeup, not necessarily clothes, but I obviously wouldn't mind it. We originally agreed on what was good for each other before the exchange because we're close like that. But a week before the exchange, she asked me what size I was. I obviously told her excitedly because she has a really good style. I'm a 000 or an extra small, just a FYI. But fast forward to the day of the exchange, and we were all opening gifts, and I go to open mine, and I see this really pretty sundress, but in 4 sizes too big. So I asked if she maybe had gotten it bigger by mistake. But what she said next shook me to my core. She went on to say that she had basically gotten it to encourage me to gain weight because starving myself isn't healthy and she really cares about me. I literally was fuming, especially because she knows about how insecure I am about my weight and about my colitis. So I ultimately stormed out and walked home. Our houses are within walking distance. Ever since, I had angry texts from the rest of my family calling me ungrateful and rude, and basically some bull about how she cares and didn't mean it in a rude way. I honestly don't give a frick. How could she embarrass me like that in front of everyone? I don't even starve myself. That's the thing. I literally ate half the pie while I was at her house. I'm just really upset at the moment and having second thoughts about what I did. I'm honestly contemplating on whether I was truly overreacting and she was just coming from a place of love, or maybe she was just being a dick. So I came to Reddit to get your judgment because I honestly truly need it. So AITA for walking out on my family after my aunt purposely bought me clothes 10 times bigger than me to encourage me to gain weight. NTA, first of all, you're 15, meaning you're in high school and probably taking a lot of gym lessons on top of having the typical high school metabolism. It is normal for girls your age to be a 0 small during that phase. Some bodies legit do not mature until a woman is about 20 when she notices a change in curves, weight. It is normal growth behavior. On top of that, you have a disability that affects your weight gain. You're eating as much as you can within reason. If you're not gaining weight, big deal. Focus on staying as healthy as you can with nutrients and vitamins according to your doctor's orders. So, walking out after your aunt, who claims she is close to you, did that is 100% justified. They would have given you grief if you justifiably yelled as well, so keep that in mind. You did what you needed to help yourself in that situation. NTA. That was incredibly disrespectful of your aunt to do that. And the whole family is disrespecting you by not believing you. I really can't fathom why they wouldn't understand your health condition is the factor affecting your weight. They ignore you telling them this and try to get you to conform to their standards of what is acceptable when it's outside of your control. Your aunt probably wasn't trying to be a dick, but the reality is that was a massive dick move, and you're totally justified in storming out and being upset. Sorry you had